Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Rivals Runback. We're going to be covering all things Week 3, and then looking forward ahead to Weeks 4 and beyond. As always, my name is Righteous, and joining with me is CB the Barbarian. CB, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. We passed the halfway mark, at least as far as runbacks go. So yeah, excited to get into some rankings tonight. There's going to be some potential hurt feelings, so excited to get into it.
There's always hurt feelings when it comes to League of Legends, but that is okay. So for the week recap, we unfortunately had our very first forfeit of Rivals League history. You got JRBB forfeiting to Elysium. Elysium picks up the 2-0 because of that. Just wanted to get that one out of the way so we can move on to the more interesting topics. Braum Lives Matter took on Orcas. I believe that was streamed by Invicta over on that channel, which CB has linked on the schedule, the Twitch VOD for it, if you want to go back and watch that. Braum Lives Matter took a 2-1 victory over the Orcas. Any quick thoughts for this series from you here, CB?
I don't know if it answered any of my questions about the two teams, because I still think they're two solid teams. I guess it went about as I expected it to. I still have question marks around Orcas on how good they are, but I mean, if you're BLM, you've beaten everybody in front of you, so a win's a win, regardless if it's 2-1 or 2-0. So it was a good watch.
Yeah, what's interesting, the reverse sweep did come out. Braum Lives Matter dropped away in game 1 and then won games 2 and 3. I really like their drafts into what Orcas was showing. Not that Orcas had any troll team comps whatsoever this time around. I actually really liked what they did in draft in all 3. Just seemed like Braum Lives Matter had an answer into what was shown. Really like game 3 draft. Nation got the counter pick. Trundle into Sejuani, but Drakenrich's Cassiopeia paid dividends. It was a pretty short range team comp from Orcas, and it looks like between the Cassiopeia and the Jinx, their carries were able to feast. So really good stuff. I'm curious because it was a 2-1 and they did drop the first game. Like the hypothetical, if they played 10 games, who would have the winning record? I mean, are you confident giving BLM maybe like a 6-4 edge? Do you think it would be like right at 5-5?
Uh, I mean, BLM won the second and third game, so you could argue that
Yeah,
it would be 9-1 BLM.
that's true.
Depends on how you want to look at it. I would probably say it'd be 6 or 7 wins for BLM. They just look
Okay.
like the most complete team in the league right now.
We do have to mention Nation is, of course, a substitute starter for Orcas. Either not available, maybe they're making a swap, who knows? But it was their first week of action, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that one. Moving on to the second series, uh, we'll do the one that wasn't streamed. I guess best for last. So we can spend more time on it. So Juicebox Gang versus Gichao. It was a scuff stream. We got it. We got it out there. A two-parter. Um, it was this was the result I was not expecting. I don't know what did you expect going into this one, CB?
Yeah, I think this was the one actually that nobody picked Kachao to win 2-0. I guess myself included. So they did come out with a lineup that looked really good on paper even before the match. So maybe if I would have known for sure who was going to play, maybe I would have picked Kachao. But if Kachao rocks with that same lineup, I could see them making a deep playoff push. If Juicebox plays kind of a little too loose, like they played some of those parts of the game, they might not make playoffs.
I
So
mean,
I
let's
don't
let's talk
know.
about game 2 a little bit because at the end of the day, it was a very close game. It went 43 minutes. The kills were actually tied at the end of it.
Baron play.
Uh, yeah, the Baron play. I mean, is this a matter of these are 5 individually like average to above average players with below average macro, or like what's going on with Juice Box Gang? I mean, a lot of them had success with Roar last split, but it just seems like despite what I think is probably a better roster on paper, they're having a worse result compared to what they were doing last split.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest confusion factors as far as teams go, because it does look like, I mean, just on paper, I would have put them, maybe around the 4 spot overall,
Hmm.
somewhere in that range, mid to higher tier. So I don't know what's not clicking. Obviously, you have Jonakis changed roles, but I mean, he's playing pretty solid.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, no one's like hard running it down. They have one of the, at least on paper, best bot lane duos in the entire league. So uh, maybe they don't practice. Maybe it's they're chilling because
Yeah.
it's like to get into playoffs. It's probably going to come down to week 5 most likely. So maybe they're just chilling. They're scaling. I don't know. We'll see. Or it could just be they're playing about where they're going to play. And Kachow just
Hmm.
came out this week, and with that lineup looked really good and are going to continue to look good.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Speaking of about the Kachal lineup, moving Ray to the top was certainly a choice. Didn't pick Kettins as a mid laner, especially with the champ pool questions. I think Macho and Adrian, though, they have some synergy from last split. Looked really, really good. I think if you could continue to do that, Kins plays a more supportive role in the mid lane and let Key play some carries. Um, I mean, they could contend with the best of them over on my division. Any other thoughts for the Kachal roster?
Uh, we've seen it with other teams. Obviously, if you have your starting roster, you intend to play with them. Even whenever subs come in and do well, usually you opt back to your starting roster. So it kind of depends on what the behind the scenes is there. If it's open season and it's just kind of a team that's whoever the captain or coach wants to play is going to play, then please stick with that same roster because it looked really really good, and it gives them a really good fighting chance going forward. So if that's an option, I say keep that roster, but we'll have to see.
All right, and then the one matchup that wasn't streamed, of course, one of them wasn't going to be either, but it was an FF.
Yeah.
Omega Gaming taking on Patriots. Patriots picking up a 2-0 victory. Also within the realm of not expecting that going into this week. Initial thoughts from this result.
So is this the one where
I
they
mean,
had a
Sailor had
sub,
himself a
right?
day.
Sailor had a day for sure. BK's, I mean, also had a day.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody played.
Nike Dragon subbed in for Eli.
Yeah, true,
Um,
true. So I don't know which team I'm more shocked about. I mean, obviously there's the reigning champs who we expected to be good either way. Looked not so great week 1, but other than that has looked good. I feel like Omega is really the one that's like, even the community ranked them at number 1, I think, before this series. So was it just a fluke week for Omega? Did they just not take Patriots serious or whatnot? They had their roster that they've been playing with, so it's not a chemistry thing. It's not a nobody like lost bands or anything. I don't know. Patriots looked really good, but Omega also looked really not so good. So I don't know who it speaks to
yeah,
more. Who do you think?
I think it speaks to. I mean, so throw it back to last Rivals Runback. I was saying going into this game, it's not like Omega has had the toughest schedule, especially after this week's result. You could say that up until the Patriots, the hardest roster they had to face was the Orcas, who are currently 1-2 and 3-5 overall. So I said, this is going to tell a lot about both these teams, because the Patriots, they lost to BLM. We were like, wow, what a shocker. It turns out BLM is actually pretty darn good. Um, I think this speaks more towards the Patriots' strength than it does Omega's weakness. That being said, I didn't expect such a convincing 2-0. I mean, there's close 2-0s, and then there's losing in 24 and a half and 27 and a half minutes. Like, the series was under an hour. It was a beatdown to the fullest extent, and that was what was most shocking to me. I think if you had Omega play them again, I don't know what needs to change, but it seems like a lot of the issues stemmed from the top side. Um, it seemed like BK's was able to get his way against Big News, which was surprising because we saw Big News pop off in week one with stuff like the Darius. Um, Concrete, I think, got by with having some non-interactive mid laners he was facing against. Salo, one of the more aggressive players, and it seemed like Salo was able to do a lot of things effectively against him. And then Eyesight, I mean, he went 5, 6, and 12 on in the first game, which that's not horrible, but it's not great. But then 4, 2, and 12 on his Poppy, which looked so good in playoffs last split. 8,000, from what I can tell, just seemed a bit lost. I mean, he was on average down about 1.5K gold at the end of the game, which as a jungler is a lot. Um, I don't know if it was just macro. I don't know if it was just the Patriots top side was just better that day. But I think that was my biggest area of concern for Omega moving forward was that top side trio.
Yeah, it was curious going into that matchup because on paper and in previous series, the teams are constructed pretty differently. At
Hmm.
least as far as the top triangle goes. Big News seemed to want to fight early and try to kind of carry. BK is more of a late game menace. And then 8,000 was playing some carry chance, and then Concrete was playing a little bit more supportive. So those three are like the opposite of how Patriots play. Um, so I wouldn't have been shocked either way for a kind of a quick 2-0 depending on which difference was the more important one. And it seems like how Patriots was constructed uh, paid out for them against Omega. So I don't
Yeah.
know if there would be a ton of difference if they played like a best of 5 series, but we might have to wait for maybe finals to see that.
Potentially. Yeah, I just think Omega probably walks away from that one. I mean, right now they're 2-1. Um, it was a rough week. I know that they're putting in the work to potentially get better. It just, to me, when you lose that badly, it screams like something was wrong. The way we approached the game was just objectively not right against the Patriots, and so they got to figure that out. My guess is there's some issue that stems from the top side of the map. Who knows? Maybe it's a communication thing. At the end of the day, it's up to them to kind of figure that one out. But that's last week in a nutshell for you. We move on to the player power rankings, which is why everybody watches these. Um, we'll keep in the theme of chat tells us what to do first. So, first position I see, or first position that gets posted, is going to be the position that we cover. So hopefully somebody types it in, or otherwise it's going to be a really awkward pause here. Last week I think we started with uh,
Usually it's top jungle that type in the chat first, but
that's true.
mm, I don't know.
Last week we started with jungle.
Okay,
Okay,
well, looks like
BK's
the
got
top it
top.
is.
Yep, multiple time tops. Okay, so I got last week's top lane rankings ready. We can pull those up. So caveat here: if you're on a team that FF this week, you're going to be at the bottom. That's just kind of how it goes. You know, even before the 2 game sample size we had of JRBB wasn't that great. So Pandora at 8, moving down 1 spot. Dude Caleb at 7 this week actually moved down 1 spot as well. Gabriel Leo moves down from 4 to 6. Big News drops all the way from 1 to 5. At 4 we have Mango rising 1 spot. 3 we have Ray who uh, uh, made his top lane debut, so this is kind of an initial ranking for him. 2 is Kama and 1 is BK's. Last week Kama was 3 and BK's was 2, so they each moved up 1 spot respectively.
And respectfully.
Um, and respectfully.
Yeah, this week for a lot of the roles, it was a super tough week. There were a lot of people that either had their debut either in the role or they were a sub. And then you had obviously 2 players in each role not play. So
Yeah.
interesting / tough to rank some of these players. And a lot of people, even in their losses, played fairly well individually. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
we could talk about a couple of things here. So we have BK's over Kama, which in our defense, Kama didn't play when Patriots took on BLM. It was alcoholic, and BK's popped off last week. I mean, he got two of his main champs, which I am starting to wonder if teams are actually scouting at this point when it comes to playing against the Patriots. I don't know how he keeps getting like York Nassus. But he gets it and he does well. He popped off this week. Kama also did as well. It wasn't as hard of a carry from top lane in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you had other people pop off in the BLM win. Obviously,
Yeah.
the game two, Kama looked really good on that Darius. The other two games played well. I mean, you're still ranked two. I get it. It's close. I think the 1-2, it's kind of separated from the rest of the pack as of right now, because Kama is playing very consistently. Obviously, missed that week.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. One and two feels correct to me. 8 is kind of an obvious one they didn't play.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them, I feel like you could make arguments depending on where your favoritism lies.
Yeah. I mean, so Ray is an initial ranking basically at 3. I think it's fair, especially when it comes, in an upset performance over um, Juicebox. I think the more reps this player gets, I think just under BK's and Kama right now is fair for our small sample size. I think Mango right here in the middle portions, um, Mango, Big News, and Gabriel Leo are top laners that I feel like are top laners you get in solo queue. By that I mean like in solo queue, that's kind of a roll of the dice or a flip of a coin, whether your top lane goes like 10-0 or 0-10. And that's kind of what Mango, Big Nose, and Gabriel Leo have done respectful like through 3 weeks. Is each of these players have had really bright shining performances, and then they've also had games where it's like, yeah, just turn it off. This is not good. I'd say Mango is probably the more consistent of the three.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few people that fell a decent amount of spots. Obviously, this is cumulative across the weeks,
Mm-hmm.
but a higher weight put on the most recent match, so that's why Big News fell so far, because it was just not close. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like last week, uh, the distance between some of the players wasn't that big, so having a really off week, we'll say, is going to bump you down a decent amount of spots. Um, I mean, dude, Caleb in the top lane hasn't been playing like horribly. He's usually on tank duty. Um, but I mean, there have been those bright spots, like you mentioned, from Mango, Big News, and Gabriel Leo to kind of distance them from that 7 spot. Yeah, I think 4, 5, and 6 is the one that you could maybe mix and match around. Mango, what do you say? Did he move up or down 1 spot? I forget. Either way, he didn't play, so
He didn't play. He
you can
moved
make
up
the
one.
argument. It's more of a one new
Yeah.
person coming in, then you had some stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Feels good to me.
Yeah, I think it's solid. I think if you look at it in tiers, like BK's and Kama, and the top tier, Ray, maybe like an undecided tier yet. But then you have Mango, Big News, and Gabriel Leo, kind of a little bit more versatile than Dude Caleb. Dude Caleb, like you said, kind of been put on tank duty. It's really hard to gain recognition when you're playing like that, especially in losses, which they lost the last 2 weeks. So it's kind of hard to justify. Like, yeah, he should be any higher than what he is currently. Um, Pretty fair in my opinion. All right, chat. Next roll. Let us know. Uh, 3, 2, 1, go. Jungle it is. All right. Makes it easy for me too. Jungle power rankings up next.
Jungle. So some new faces to Jungle. Obviously, Inferno was a new addition to the roster for support, but ended up playing Jungle 2 weeks ago, and then they FF'd this week, so naturally going to be put at 8th. And then we have Jonicus, Key, 8,000, Nasian making their debut for the Orcas. I forget it every time. T1 Romeo? TI Romeo?
It's TI.
TI Romeo at 3,
That's what I
Eyesight
typed
2.
in, and it looks right.
It does look right, true. And I'm Stealthy going to that number 1 spot?
Yeah, so some big movers and shakers. Last week it was Adrian Legitness that got the jungle nod for Kachao. This week it's Key. You can say the role for their team moved up to from 8 to 6. Jodicus moved down 1 spot. 8,000 moved down 4, all the way from number 1 to 5. Um, Ti Romeo moving down 1 spot. Kind of tough because he didn't play last week because of the FF.
Yeah.
But then Eyesight and Stealthy both move up. Stealthy moves up 2 spots, as well as Eyesight. They overtake Romeo there. So, uh, any big ones you want to talk about? Do we want to do a general overview, or I mean, people are
I I think if Key keeps playing jungle, we'll move into the top half. I like Key
okay.
jungle. So that's one I want to touch on because obviously Key jumps around different roles. We'll see where if they change anything up. But I like Key. I mean, the Mordekaiser early presence looked really strong in those early objectives. And then the Viego, a champ that we don't see very often, also played pretty well. Feels weird saying you played well both games and it's still ranked 6. I just think Romeo had the distance on him, and then Nation, it being their first game, and then 8,000. Since 8,000 was what, 1?
Yeah.
Didn't think it was enough to really drop below the 5th mark, but I could see Key climb up this list for sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest one I wanted to talk about was Nation kind of debuting at 4. I think his game 1 was really good, 12-6 and 11, and then in the 2 losses, playing Jarvan and Trundle, they went 4-6-12 and 6-6-2. Um, Comes in a loss. It's his first ranking. You could debate whether or not 8,000 and Asian should be flip flopped here. I think right there in the middle for both of them though is a fair assessment. Um, a lot of the games we see Romeo play with Elysium, it's not necessarily um, jungle that's holding them back. But I also don't think jungle's having a high enough impact to go higher than 1-2. I think Stealthy and Sight, what kind of sets them apart from the rest. Not only are they keeping up in tempo and farm, but they're also making smart plays with that tempo. They're not trying to overforce from one side or the other. They take what's given. And the last couple of weeks have been very, very effective at that. I think that's kind of, in my opinion, why Stealthy and Sight are at the top right now. They're prioritizing farm as junglers should. But they're also making plays, pathing towards those plays, and setting them up beforehand.
Yeah, and I want to point out also, Jonakis was really tough to rank. I
Yeah,
don't think Jonakis played poorly by any means. I mean, you can maybe argue the game 1 was rough all around, but game 2 played pretty well. So it feels kind of bad having him at 6, but you can then make the argument for everybody else to be kind of where they're at. So 8,000, I don't think is going to drop below 5. I'm going to call it an off week. Everybody gets an off week. They're just going to take it here in week 3. So it was just jungle was a little bit of a toughie. We'll see if Nation continues to play and where they end up, or if it was just a 1 week and done situation. And then look forward to seeing Romeo get to actually play next week against Eyesight. So it'll be a good 2 versus 3
yeah,
matchup.
yeah. Definitely a match that should keep tabs open for because it'll tell a lot about both those teams. How we doing on time? Can we squeeze in another?
Yeah, we can do another one.
All right, chat. Let us know. We've done top and jungle. I know somebody was saying mid, but okay. Tyroma says ADC. That's not how it works. We have to do when I ask. So ADC is gonna be next.
Oh yeah, I was like, it's like, what do you mean? You just said it. He asked. Okay. Yeah.
No, I was just saying I'm not gonna go scroll up and
Yeah,
see what
yeah,
was
yeah.
next. Yeah,
Yeah. That's the active.
yeah. It's gotta keep the chat active. All right, bottom lane coming up. Let me see where we had everybody last.
Yeah, let us know, risers and fallers.
Okay, so this is interesting. Um,
Uh-oh.
Diablo Fox at 8, both last week and this week. Um, just kind of how it happened. Riley Sauce falls from 5 to 7. Nightmare falls from 2 to 6. Probably our biggest faller this week. Red Face Beast rises from 6 to 5. Stank falls from 1 to 4. Nike Dragon kind of re-debuting on this list. I think he was on this list 2 weeks ago.
So
But I
support.
think he was support,
Yeah.
wasn't he? So making his ADC debut. At 3, Macho also making their debut for ADC, and Kachao at 2, and then Neon Sword climbing up from 3 to 1.
Yeah, this one was interesting because you had two new faces, two people that didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
This was a rough one. I hate ranking people that play kind of their first series on a roll super high,
Yeah.
but I mean Macho and Nike Dragon both looked really good.
Yeah. Both looked very, very good. I would say that I think watching the series that Kachao had against Juicebox, it really came down to like which team fought better, and it was Kachao almost every single time. And a big part of that was Macho spacing very well, controlling, you know, different key avenues, especially on I believe he played Varus in game 2.
Yep.
Um, so looked really, really good. Nike Dragon, kind of in a similar vein. We didn't see the footage, but it just seemed like the Patriots kind of were better in every role, especially in game 2. I think one player that stands out to me on this list, Redface Beast, probably getting the recognition he deserves, moving up one spot. I think, in the loss, I think Redface Beast probably had his best series so far. This split, obviously he, uh, one of the lower ranked players, but I was impressed with his performance even in the 3 game loss.
Yeah, I mean I alluded to it earlier for some players that were especially tough to rank because they lost, and a lot of the times that's well your stat lines are there to follow. Redface Beast, at least in the game 1 and 2, um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean looked like he played really well. Obviously Neon Sword at number one, best AD carry right now, also played really well. But yeah, even in their loss, Redface Beast looked really good. 5 feels good. I It was close. It was close between that 4, 5, 6 spot
Yeah.
just for all those. Obviously Riley might feel too low, but didn't play this week, so we'll just call that one. Just ignore that for now. Uh, Nightmare series was no pun
A nightmare.
intended. Yeah. So and then Stank. I mean they lost, but still gonna stay in the top 4. I think he played pretty well. That game 2 felt like for the most part in most of those team fights did as much as he could. I mean obviously had a good stat line, but uh, maybe wasn't doing. You can call it the champion. You can call it build, blah blah blah,
I mean,
whatever. I don't
at
know, but
what
it
point
played pretty well though.
at what point do we stop giving Stank the benefit of the doubt? Because like he's putting up nice KDAs and he's doing nice things, but I mean, at what point are you just playing for the stats for the rankings and not actually playing to win? Because it seems like from the outside looking in, I don't know. Do you think Stank could be doing more?
I mean, sure. I mean, their team's losing and you're the 80 carry, so yeah, you could say that. You could say that. But I mean, he was what at one, right?
Yeah,
So I
no,
mean, he
I
fell
know. I mean,
three
he's playing
spots.
well.
So
He's
fell
playing
three
well.
spots on a series where I feel like at least in game 2 played pretty well. Game 1, well, they probably want to erase that one, but so I'd say I somewhat agree. But I mean, falling 3 spots is a decent fall. So if Stank was already at like 3 or 4, then I would say okay, we're
Yeah.
overlooking something. But um, after their second loss now is going to fall those 3 spots. So
Okay. I just
like
wanted to see your thoughts.
yeah. I think it was
Um.
the game 2 that really there were the late game team fights because that game was really close where it was like positioning well, staying alive, doing kind of as much damage as they could in the team fights. But I mean, maybe at that point it was too little, too late. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just wanted to see what you thought. Yeah. I think by and large, this list is pretty good. I agree. It's always hard to rank new players or players making like debuts at certain positions and popping off while doing so. We'll see if Nike Dragon and Macho play next week. I think if if Kachao is really trying to make a playoff push, they probably run that same roster. Um, but we'll see. Uh, okay, we got what do we have left? Support and mid
Support, mid, and teams. So I
and
think
teams.
we're
We
gonna
always
have
go
to
teams last.
gotta do teams last, man. Yeah, we'll have to throw it to break.
All right, we'll be right back after a break. Get your fingers ready to let us know between support and mid who goes next. are back. We got 2 positions and the team power rankings to go. Chat, let us know. Support or mid lane up next. Should be a good one
50-50.
regardless.
50-50.
50-50. We could flip a coin too if you guys don't want to tell us.
I know they want to do the most important role, right?
Okay, I was gonna type in chat. Salo made me see that. All right, we're going mid lane next. I was like, wait, I can control this. I can also chat. Per the request of Salo, we're going to be doing mid. Telroma called it previously with Salo at 1, Drakenrich at 2, but Storm is at 3, Outrage at 4, Kittens 5, Concrete 6, Millie Bobby Brown at 7, and Zane at 8, where he, I believe, was
Think so.
previously. Yes. Um, biggest movers and fallers. Millie Bobby Brown moves 1 spot down. Concrete falls from 2 to 6, from 2 to 6. Kittens makes a debut at 5. Outrage at 4, moving 1 spot up. Storm remains the same at 3. Drakenrich falls 1 spot, and Salo moves up to 1 from 4.
Yeah, I think kind of the trend for a lot of Omega players that they fell 3 or 4 spots. I don't feel too bad about that. Didn't like hard feed, but 3-7-3 both games, I think. Obviously, stats don't mean everything, but mid lane it creates a lot of pressure for your entire team. So, didn't drop all the way to the bottom, but did drop a considerable amount of spots there for Concrete. We touched on Kittens a while ago. Made a debut. I mean, 5 feels solid. It was back and forth for that 3-4-5 spot. Especially the 4-5 spot. I think I had it flipped there for a bit and then flipped it back. But Kittens looked really good and in a respectful way, surprisingly good in the mid lane in their stream series.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, chat they're more concerned with 1 and 2.
True.
You know, so that's the thing about power rankings, right? They're not head to head. They're not, overall record. If you're going head to head, Drakenrich probably won, Salo 2, right? Drakenrich definitely got the better of Salo. However, cumulatively, Salo has had a couple good weeks now, and I think, what did he go? Like a combined 22, 23, 24 kills and only 2 deaths last week. Similar to what Drakenrich did all the way back in week 1. I think it's close.
Oh yeah.
I would say, like, if you were to put this in tiers, they're both, well above the rest. Storm, might be a little aghast at that, but even last week, Storm, when he got counterpicked with the Lysandra and the Vi, had a stinker in game 3. I would say Salo and Drakenrich are definitely like above everybody else by quite a big margin right now.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we saw the rankings after they played each other in week 1, right? So Drakenrich was considerably higher than Salo. So if it's just off that series, we already saw what that looked like. But yeah, this is cumulative. And I agree that the gap between 1 and 2 might be the smallest gap on this list, at least. Maybe 4-5 is really close to. But yeah, I mean, Salo popped off damn near hard carried. Maybe not, he had some help, but had more flashy, I guess, a look in this last week. Whereas Drakenrich, a staple on their team, kind of, the carry role in a lot of their games. But you could make the argument that the Victor game was kind of and even the Lux game was more supportive, which is fine. But I think Salo takes the edge this week. We'll see if he can keep it up. We'll see if they just flip-flop back and forth until maybe they play each other in finals. Who knows? We'll see.
I think that's kind of a lot of people thinking that it's Patriots and BLM, of course, at the top of each division. Respect the... Dude, I'm struggling with that word, and my brain keeps trying to say it.
I was thinking you were just going to avoid it, but you went for it.
Yeah, I went for it. Respectfully.
Respectively. Okay, okay. Yeah, Storm didn't play.
Respectively.
I almost moved Storm down, but it just felt weird because if you move anyone below Outrage, it felt like you also had to move them below Kittens because they're, to me, were really close. So, like moving Storm all the way down to 5 just felt wrong, just because he didn't play uh, this week. So, Stormer 3 felt fine. Outrage, kind of been hot or cold. Played pretty well this week. I mean, didn't
Even in
like
their
hard
loss, I
sweep
would
and did
say
it.
it's.
Yeah,
I
like
feel like
decent.
this is Outrage's most consistent 3 games.
Yeah, yeah.
Because even last week, they played the Zach mid, and it was tough.
Yeah, that's. Hey, they kept it on the bench. Did it get banned? It did get banned. BLM actually banned it. BLM actually did ban it. Game 3. So it's kind of funny, but yeah, didn't like do anything too crazy. You could argue that Kittens and maybe even Concrete should jump Outrage, because it hasn't really had too many like carry performances, but has been somewhat kind of in that middle of the pack. Uh,
Bro, speaking about Kittens and Concrete, I feel like they are the exact same player almost. Where it's just like sit back, farm, be supportive, and then just do a lot of damage as an AP carry in the mid to late. Like that is their play style, at least from what I could tell. Is like non-interactive. I'm gonna last hit minions, and I'm gonna show up to objectives. It worked out for Kittens this week. This last week though, it was tough for Concrete.
yeah, yep, agree. Yeah, Millie Bobby definitely doesn't feel like the 7th place mid laner. Yeah, especially I don't think we had him that low in the preseason. Uh, but I mean, wins and stats go a long way. So uh, Kitten's able to play 2 safer champions against Millie Bobby Brown this week, and it worked out for Kittens. And Millie's gonna fall to 7.
All right, middle power rankings. There you have it. We move on to what CB says the most important role.
That's what, some people are saying it.
Some people are saying it. Support coming at you. Let me pull up
Last
last
week's.
week's.
See who rose and fell. Somewhat similar trends for some of these teams.
All right, you want to list them off? Then I'll tell
Oh
everybody who.
yeah, we had a decent trend for the Jolly Rogers crew with their FF. Sapphire Gem's gonna be at 8th this week. I don't know. Are you tell me where they were at last week or what?
Oh yeah, I was gonna let you tell
Oh,
everybody where they're
okay.
at, and
Let's
then
do
I'll.
it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
7th Rogue Gorilla gonna, I assume, fall because didn't play this week. Savvy gonna come in at 6th for the Orcas. Poodle gonna drop to 5th. Kind of a trend with the Omega squad this week. Tyler Durden for Juicebox Gang at 4. Adrian Legitness coming in at number 3 for Kachow. Death Knight climbing to 2. And at the top is Tiny Fist of Fury for Braum Lives Matter.
All right. So Adrian Legitness, a new face. So he's the only one that didn't have a change in the ranking. Sapphire Gem dropped 1 spot because of the FF, like you said. Rogue Gorilla fell from 5 to 7, which is tough because he didn't play. Savvy at 6, dropping from 4. Let's see. Like you said, Poodle dropped from 1 to 5. Tyler Durden from 2 to 4. Uh, Tiny Fist rose 2 spots to 1, and Death Knight rose from 6 all the way to 2. So probably our biggest riser of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the 2 teams not playing, Adrian making the support debut, I think.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think
He's
Adrian was
been in and
different
out.
role, right?
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
jungle or
He's been
something.
paying a boat the last couple weeks.
Yeah. So the rough week from Poodle, the debut from Adrian, and then the non-players. Death Knight, one of the highest riser with solid performance, I'd say, on the Thresh and Tark. Not enough to pass the number 1 support in the league right now. Tiny Fist of Fury did drop a tin bomb in the death column on the Seraphine in their loss, but other than that, pulled out the Maokai flex pick perhaps on the support. Looked good on that. And then we always love to see a Nami paired with the Jinx carrying down there in that bot lane.
I don't love seeing Nami paired with Jinx. It worked out for them. I would
I
I
like it.
would feel very exposed as the Jinx, in my opinion.
Nah.
But it worked. It was good. It was good for what they needed. Um, Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of things we could talk about. Poodle dropping from 1 all the way to 5 after having, consistently great weeks. The one bad week, you say maybe overpunished. Maybe Tyler Durden really doesn't deserve to be a 4. But you look at those two players, different, contrasting styles. Tyler Durden more in your face, more playmaking. I saw in the banter, you guys really like the thresh. Where Poodle, playing support to the T, you're getting your enchanters and you're trying to control the bottom lane that way. Um, Maybe it's just choose your flavor. I always side towards the playmaking supports a little bit more. I feel like it makes the game feel easier to play when you have people that can, frontline and make plays and look for picks and stuff like that. Not to say that enchanters don't deserve a spot in competitive League of Legends, but um, you know, I would say, at least in my opinion, I feel like that's why Tyler's a 4 and Poodle's a 5.
Yeah, I do think it was really close. I think
Yeah.
Adrian feels good at 3, but the 4-5, if you flipped him, I wouldn't feel too bad about it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Also agree.
Tyler gonna get the nod. Does feel bad dropping those 4 spots for Poodle, but I expect that's as far down as they're gonna drop. Uh, Savvy at 6. Savvy not playing like bad any of the games. We even gave him a nod. I think on all their losses, even their 0-2 loss, looked solid. So still gonna probably stay. You could argue I'm gonna say the 6 is in that middle pack. Um, Granted, Rogue Gorilla fell just kind of by not playing. So we'll
Yeah.
see how things shake out whenever Rogue actually plays this upcoming week. But uh, Savvy had a solid week. Was it 3 tanks? No, 2 tanks and an enchanter. So
Hmm.
didn't do anything too crazy. Just on the other side of the coin BLM's bot lane looked really, really good against them. So and then Sapphire Gem not playing was technically a sub anyway, but um, gonna be at 8. So I don't know. I feel pretty solid. You can flip a couple of them, but feels good.
No, I definitely think for what we got to go off of, I mean, there's always the options like, oh, when FF happens, we just pull those two teams out of the power rankings. That feels bad. Um, Maybe you could say Rogue Gorilla at 6 and Savvy at 7 just because of the results. Um, Rogue Gorilla also being, former all rivals, maybe separates himself a little bit, but we're going off of this split and this split only. Um, we move on to team power rankings.
Yep, yep, yep,
All
yep,
right.
yep. Let's see. This one was a tough one. If anybody has a perfect list, feel free to put it in the chat. But I think it was, if I can get it to work. Yeah. Here's what we got. We got at the bottom we have Jolly Rogers, Broadside Buccaneers, 7th Juice Box Gang, 6th Kachow Esports, 5 ELY Gingy Easy, 4th the Orcas, 3 Omega Gaming, 2 Patriots, and 1 Brom Lives Matter. This, of course, is not the standings. We've already went over that. You can see that on the document. This is power rankings, and of course, is combined from both of the groups.
Yeah, and it's a good distinction, right? Because right now Elysium sits over Omega in the division, but Elysium had the benefit of a 2-0 FF, so I would say right now Omega probably, I mean, until they play each other, we'll never know for sure, but I would say safely ahead of Elysium at this point, which is why they're at 3, Elysium at 5. JRBB at 8. I mean, look, man, like you're 0-2 and you FF the third week. There's not much to say about that one. Juicebox King at 7. I think, you know, I think 4 through 7 is probably where most of the contention could lie for this list, right? I think our top 3, it's pretty solid right now, as it
Okay, I don't know. I
stands.
don't know if I agree. Like, keep going.
You don't know if you agree? Okay. I would just say I feel like Brom Lives Matter and Patriots. It was a 3-game series. Brom Lives Matter definitely looked a lot better in games 2 and 3 than the Patriots did. But the Patriots the past couple of weeks have looked very, very good. Just smattered Omega last week. Um, so if you're going off of results and like who you could expect to win and head to heads right now, I would say 1 through 3. You can debate the order of 1 and 2 perhaps, but I think those top three teams are solidly the top three. 4 through 7 seems just up in the air to me. Um, I'm not entirely convinced that Orcas is 3 spots better than Juice Box Gang, if if I'm being completely
True,
honest.
true, true, fair.
But at the end of the day, like, I mean, it's not like I just feel like the gaps between those four are a lot narrower than from 3 to 4, if that makes sense.
Okay, okay, okay. I halfway agree. I think one
Okay.
and two are solidified as being, either way, whichever, whichever flavor you want. BLM took the win over Patriots. Now you can say, well, it was week one, it was this, it was that. A win's a win. So BLM takes one, Patriots two. Flip them if you want. Then I think there's a big gap, and then I think 3 through 7, which of course is more than half of the list, is where it gets really tough.
Yeah,
The
that's
reason
interesting to me.
I don't know because I feel like there's a big gap between 2 and 3 because Patriots just stomped Omega Gaming. So it's
Yeah.
weird to have Omega right next to Patriots, but then the 3, 4, 5, and maybe even toss in the 6, it's like they won, like they beat each other in a circle. Pause. So it's like, who you put
That's
where? I think
crazy.
Orcas could be on Fraud Watch.
Well, so let me make a case for Omega Gaming right now.
Okay.
Why I think they should be with BLM and Patriots. Maybe you could put them at, their own tier, and then 4, 5, 6, and 7 their own tier, and maybe Omega's just between those two. Omega is 4-0 against the Orcas and Kachow. Like, and they weren't particularly close against the Orcas. Like, it was a handed, like, it wasn't as fast as the Patriots beat Omega, but the Orcas really didn't feel like they were ever in those two games. Um, we obviously didn't get to watch the Kachow games, but it was also pretty. Let me pull them up. Actually, from what I remember, it was pretty lopsided in those. Now Kachow, you could say, is a different team with the roster adjustments that they've made. Um, but I feel like when it comes to the quality of 4 through 7, maybe Elysium, you can argue about where they should be. I just feel like Omega has done enough to solidify themselves above that tier based off of results.
Okay. 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 Hear me out. So
Okay.
Omega agreed, stomped Orcas. I don't want to give Orcas a free pass, like say, oh, it was week one, but it definitely looked like they had never played with each other before that week one performance. But still, Omega's ahead of Orcas because they beat him 2-0 for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, so I still kind of think Orcas is in that question mark potential fraud watch category, to where I don't know if that's like a super great quality win, but a win's a win nonetheless.
Yeah.
Omega, okay, also 2-0'd Kachow. And so if you go back to Kachow's original roster, I would agree they'd probably win every single time. But if Kachow runs with this new lineup, again, have no idea if they are
Yeah.
going to.
That's an if.
I think with this
Yeah.
new lineup, Kachow 2-0's Omega.
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying Child's that
I
much
think
better than
it's a
Omega
completely different
right
team. I
now?
think with this new lineup. So I don't think it's gonna
Uh,
stay that way. I don't know, but that's why Kachow
I
was kind
think
of
it's
tough. I can't assume they're gonna go with a new lineup. So
okay. That's because I feel like with the new lineup, maybe it's like a 3 game series now, but I think Omega still wins. That's
so
where
you
my
just so you're thinking that Patriots are just a super great team, or do you think it was a fluke stomp between Patriots and Omega?
uh I think the Patriots I think BLM and the Patriots, we were treated by seeing the two best teams play week 1. And because of that, I feel like the Patriots got a bad rap because they technically got upset, but it's been 4 straight wins for them. And I think Omega probably. I feel like Omega had a bad day, but even on a bad day against Kachow, they win 2-1 with Kachow's new roster.
Okay, okay. I
I think
I
they match
disagree.
up better. I think they match up better in Kachow than they do the Patriots. I think like I was saying, Concrete and Kittens probably the same team or like the same
That's
type of
probably fair.
player.
They do probably do. Agree. They probably do match up better.
Um, that's why I give the slight edge to Omega. But like I was saying, I feel like 4, 5, 6, and 7 are kind of a lot closer than what I think. I think Omega's closer to the top two than they are that tier. I could be eating my words in a week from now. That's just what I'm feeling right now.
Okay, okay, okay.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think it's the Kachow, obviously, who's going to play. That's a question mark.
Yeah.
Uh, ELY, 3, 4, and 5 flipped around a few times. Um, I had ELY at 3 for a bit because I feel like if they can figure it out, granted, when you throw that if word in there and it's like, okay, back to 5. But I feel like ELY still is probably the third or fourth best team. But they beat Kachow with, I call it the worst lineup. Uh, and they got a free win, and they kind of got stomped in game 3 against the Orcas. So
Yeah.
that one was a weird one. Orcas, there's too many question marks.
I feel like
Juicebox does feel, I would agree, feels better than 7th. And it's like one of
yeah.
those like Orcas and Juicebox. If you flip them and made the argument, well, Orcas is losing and Juicebox
Is
is
also
almost
losing.
there, but they're still losing, and so it's like so I, in a weird way that won't make sense, 4 and 7 all almost feel closer together, just those two teams, and then
Yeah.
EOY and Kachow, so it's
I
weird.
would say like if you're talking about potential ceilings and floors, I feel like Juicebox floor is close to Orca's ceiling. I feel like Orca's floor is way below Juicebox's, if that makes sense. That's why I feel like 4 and 7 can feel kind of close. Kachow's like the what if this roster that they fielded last week continues to play, they should theoretically start rising in these. Elysium, I feel like Elysium, Orcas, and Juicebox are all like they're the 3 wild cards, right? Just because we've seen players on Elysium, Rogue Gorilla, Riley Sauce, Storm do so well last split, going undefeated, eventually losing in semifinals. We know what kind of team that they could put together. It just hasn't happened. Now, I think that's a credit to a higher quality of opponents here in Split 2 than we had in Split 1. Um, Orcas just seems to me kind of like within Juicebox Gang. I feel like they have 5 solid players. I think both those teams do. They're just not putting it together. Whether it's draft issues for Orcas early, whether it's macro issues late for Juicebox, that's the rub I think for those teams.
Okay, okay. Well, coincidentally, checking it now, they actually play against each
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
And if Orcas ends up streaming that one will get to be seen, and there will be a VOD and all that fun stuff. So that one will potentially be streamed by Invicta. And then, I mean, something to point out for Elysium, while I do think at least a middle tier team, if not encroaching on that 3-4 spot, in theory, they have not played the hardest team in the opposing division. Everyone else in your division has played the Patriots so far. So Elysium is at 5, and they still haven't played the Patriots. So that'll tell us a lot on whether or not Patriots is, for sure in that top 2, or is it Patriots should go back down to the middle spot and Elysium climbs up the list. So that one will be streamed by us on Sunday. So looking forward to that one. Kind of almost kind of a rematch, somewhat, from the Split 1 semifinals match. So excited for that one.
as well. Those are the matchups to look forward to. Do you want to talk about predictions here in a second?
Yeah, that's next, right?
Yeah, that is next. I have to run and go check on something real quick. I'll be right back. If
What
you
the
want to give your
hell?
predictions for the first, it'll be like 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah,
like a
yeah,
minute.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be right back. Give me 1 second. I've been tasked to be.
Bro, I got grounded midstream. It's crazy. All right. He doesn't matter anyway. He doesn't know nothing. He don't know no ball. What we got? We got JRBB versus Omega Gaming. The real question is Jolly Rogers going to play? I have no idea. I probably should know. Um, probably will slide in the DMs and check that one out. If they don't, if they FF again, they go on the rival shit list for FFing 2 games. Omega's going to climb up. Their rankings will probably stay in that top 3 power rankings because how can you drop them down if they get a free win? And I should probably pull up the standings because I think if JRBB ends up FFing their match to Omega.
Back.
What? You're a liar.
I said I'd be right back.
What the hell? I already finished it all.
You already finished all of your predictions?
Yeah. I don't know. As far as I got was, is JRBB going to show up and play? Or is Omega going to get their free ride to the playoffs?
I don't know if Pandora wants to let us know. My gut feeling is that was the last we saw of JRBB. That's my gut feeling, which is unfortunate. We'll see. Maybe they prove me wrong. You just going top to bottom?
Yeah, I'll start with the top of the schedule, which was JRBB versus Omega. So, Kachao eSports versus Braum Lives Matter. So, okay, I guess if JRBB and Omega do play, I mean, I guess I'm just going to rock Omega 2-0. I assume you're going to say the same because,
Yeah.
I don't know, you're 0-3 and you're kind of uphill battle if you do show up, and you potentially might have to have V-subs, who knows. So, yeah, that one's kind of a given. Kachao eSports versus Braum Lives Matter. The first seed in your division versus the second or third seed. Third seed in mine. Kind of tied for second, though. I think if Kachao uses the same lineup as this week, I think it'll be close. I'll probably still go Braum Lives Matter, but a 2-1 win. If Kachao goes back to their original lineup, then I'm going to say a swift 2-0 for BLM.
Not that I want to keep copying you. I agree. If it's Kachao last week, it's probably 2-1. I want to say 2-0, but BLM has won a game, or sorry, lost a game 1 or 2 already. I feel like they would drop the first game against Kachao, make their adjustments, and then probably win the next 2. But I don't know, who knows? Maybe that could be our upset next week. But I'll go BLM 2-1. We got Orcas taking on Juicebox Gang, like we alluded to earlier. I mean, the next 2 matches, them and Patriots versus Elysium, probably must-see TV. I feel like if Juicebox Gang doesn't win, or at least look respectable against the Orcas, they're in trouble. Because this is like their last time to get it right before week 5 really matters. And I gotta check the standings too.
Juice
I mean, yeah,
No,
there's a world where if Omega and Elysium both win their matchups, if Juicebox doesn't win, then they're out. So
True. It's a
I
lot.
feel like all the pressure's on them, and I think they're going to lose because of it.
True. Now, I guess if you're Juicebox, regardless of the outcome of your game, you're rooting for either JRBB to show up and pull a huge upset, or you're just rooting for the Patriots to win against ELY. That way, your playoff hopes are still alive going into week 5. Or just keep fate in your hands and you win your match against the Orcas, and then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really say our predictions. I got Orcas 2-1. I don't think it'll be a clean series, but I think the Orcas have shown enough to make me more confident in them, the JVG.
Okay. I'm gonna go with. It's tough to do it.
Orcas was your second pick team.
I'm gonna go Orcas 2-0. Yeah, no, that's what I was
Okay.
like. I was like, I do it. They keep letting me down, but I'm gonna go Orcas 2-0. Yeah, I mean, rocking with. I gotta stand by my pick, so we'll see if they can finally figure it out. Maybe they've just been a little relaxed because they are still sitting in that 2-3 seed spot. But
Funny because I keep throwing out 2-1 predictions, but a trend through the first 3 weeks, there's only been one series each week that has gone the full 3 games. The rest are 2-0s. So maybe I should be predicting more lopsided. Which is why Patriots versus Elysium. I want to go Patriots too. I'm gonna bet against my team in Elysium. I'm not confident coming off of unplanned bye week that they're gonna be the sharpest that they've been. I think missing last week is actually pretty detrimental for them, just because Storm was trying to figure out drafts or something, is what he said in banter. Um, I think the Patriots are riding a hot streak after a letdown week one, and they're gonna come out all on cylinders and win 2-0.
Okay. Okay. I'm also gonna go with the Patriots because I think they're for sure top two team. I'm gonna go 2-1 though. I think this, regardless of if it was like the first seed team versus the seventh seed team, because of how split one went, and just kind of the anticipation of this game, and what 4, 7, at least 7 players coming back from that split one match that was a banger. Uh, I think this is just one regardless of which team's better. It's gonna be a banger series, so I'm gonna go 2-1 for the Patriots. Does ELY take game 1 or 2? I'd probably say game 1, but we'll see on Sunday on stream.
Definitely one you guys are gonna want to tune into. All right, you got the question of the day. If you want to throw it back to us, throw it back.
Huh? Yeah, somewhere up in here. What we got?
We've been kind of talking a little bit about it, but I wanted to revisit week one and ask, were week one's concerns overblown in the moment, or is it still pretty clear that one division is above the other?
I think the gap is closed. Uh, let me look at all the teams real quick. Let me look at all the teams. I think it was a little overblown. Uh, do I still think overall your division is probably better? Probably, probably. Do I think it's the what do they call it, the death group
Group of
versus
death.
the, I don't know, we got the feather group over here. I don't think it's that far of drastic. So I think it's a little overblown, because of the question marks that I have for Omega, and then which lineup Kachao is going to go with. Um, Kachao rocks with their most recent lineup. I'd say it's pretty even overall. Obviously, I have potential FFers in my 4 seed spot. So, but I mean, it might end up being close to where, okay, your first seed would be first seed in either division, but it could be second seed in my division, could have been second in either group, and then like your 4 seed could have ended up being 4 seed in either group. So I'd say the gap's definitely closed, but my bias is the only reason that I would say that my group right now is better than yours.
Okay, so we're going with Righteous Group still slightly better, but it's not like one-sided
Yeah.
as one might have thought after 1 week.
Yeah, which we'll
I,
see. I think
I
the Juice Box versus Orca series will be. Ask me after that series.
well, I would argue the Elysium Patriots one, right? Because if Elysium beats Patriots, uh, Patriots did pick up the win against Omega. Um, you basically your top team would be, I guess, still playoff bound, but at the third spot over on our side. Um, I agree. I feel like Omega, after that series, has to show something next week to put a little bit more confidence back into them. I think it was a bad week, obviously, but I don't think it was as bad um, as. I don't think it's gonna be like a season ender. Like I don't think they're gonna be so shaken that it's like, oh, okay, like why are we even playing, kind of thing. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting because right now there's a very real world where, and this is why I wanted to bring it up. There's a real world where Orcas and Gichao get into playoffs having a 1-3 record, 1-4 potentially for that third spot.
I mean, well, whoever ends up at that third seed, ooh, it's going to be interesting, especially if Jolly Rogers
Yeah,
FFs out, because the third seed could end up jumping the second seed. Um, but yeah, nonetheless, yeah, somebody that's 1-4, good chance that they'll make the playoffs. We'll feel bad if Juicebox or whoever from your group doesn't make it and has a better record. We'll cross that when we get
Yeah.
there. It happens in pretty much every league that has groups, but
Yeah.
we'll see. I
I
will
was just,
say this week, it's not impossible for at least the 3 matches that are for sure going to happen. Um, that my group wins all 3 of them. Hey, it's not
I mean,
impossible.
yeah, it's probably
This is
this
the
week's
week.
probably the best week if it's gonna happen. Kachow surprises BLM, and then you could say Patriots probably stronger than Elysium right now. Orca's juice box. I mean, that one's
Coin
about as
toss right now.
50-50 as
Yeah.
they come. Yeah. Um, yeah, just interesting. Just thought I'd revisit that topic from week one, because this is the last week of interdivision games. Because week five kind of acts as a play-in game or a seeding game. Going to be our only look um, before playoffs about how these teams do within their own division. Um, that's it. Shout out to our sponsor, Real Tough Guy Rugs, 15% off code LOL RTG. I think that goes for until finals, right?
Yep. 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 Yep.
Um, if you haven't checked them out, you should. Uh, just because it feels weird, like I don't want to buy a whole rug. They're not that expensive. You're getting high quality. They're really, really cool. Custom rugs, definitely a talking point, a talking piece when you have people in your home. Definitely check them out. Um, Sunday, we got Patriots taking on Elysium. Kind of a rematch of the Digna-washed Patriots semifinals last split, which you could argue was the real finals of the playoffs. Um, I don't know. Anything else here?
Um, Pick'ems tomorrow. I'm interested to see uh, how that's going to shake out. I'll post some of the results later in the week. It seems like some people like that for better or worse. Able to see what other people are thinking is going to happen. So we'll see that come out again. And I might throw something else out there here later this week. We'll see. As you can see, I at least have. Don't want to jinx it. Don't want to jinx it, but my internet, it's not cutting out.
Yeah,
So we're a couple days of it
router
working. So
diff.
yeah, I got a faulty router. What are the odds? So yeah, so it should be good. Streaming wise, we'll be back Sunday. I'll post this VOD so the people that missed. Usually the first roll is the one that people miss, so they can be upset for all the people that ended up being 2 or 3 when they felt they should have been 1. Get that posted, and yeah, that's all I got.
All right, we will see you back on Sunday. We're gonna go raid our friends over at Ember eSports. I don't know if it looks like it's a regular season matchup, but regardless, go check them out. They've been popping off recently, so we'll send you that way. Until Sunday, take care. Let me see if I can do.